everybody, Mrs. Hales here. It's day 3 of Over and Under the Snow. Today we're going to finish coloring and we're going to paint our sky and the dirt beside or around our burrow. I wanted to show you really quickly the art by an artist named Kathy Suave. I think she's from New England. She's an American artist, and her work it looks a little bit like folk art, which means that she was a self-taught artist. And I like that her work feels very cozy and warm, and it looks like someplace in the winter that you would like to visit. So I thought I would show you that kind of as a goal or an aspiration for your burrow, as well as for your the environment or the composition that you put above ground. This is an acrylic painting of a little winter village at night. Your work certainly doesn't have to be this complicated, but I like how cozy this feels, so I wanted to share it with you. This is also one of her winter scenes. I like how she overlaps her buildings and messes with or changes the direction or the angle that they're sitting at. Supplies you're going to need today include whatever coloring mediums you want to use. So crayons, colored pencils, oil pastels, or whatever you used last week. You need your watercolor palette, you need a paintbrush, and a cup of water. You also need a paper towel today. You're going to finish up coloring anything you needed to color with crayon or colored pencil. My advice last class was to color any tiny little details with colored pencils if you don't have a good point on your crayon, or just color real carefully with crayons. If that's all you have, that's fine. I used crayon for my whole picture except for what I painted. Remember, you want to push down hard and consistently, and you want your strokes to go the same direction, your colored strokes. You want, Miss Hales calls it nice, thick, juicy color. So you want good, intentional, juicy color. I wanted to leave my bunny white, so I just colored a little gray shadow on certain parts of him, like on his chest and under his neck and in his belly and the back of his leg. I also wanted to add some detail like shingles to my roof, and I wanted them to have just a little bit of highlight on them. Or you could look at it as snow. So I colored those in a little bit more carefully. I colored my house and my door, and I left the trim of my house around the windows and around the door white. Now it's time to paint. I have no idea what that blue stripe is on the roof. Even Miss Hales makes mess ups. So I took a bunch of water and I wet my lightest blue and my black watercolor palettes. And then I put some clear water in my lid, and I mixed mostly blue with a tiny bit of black paint in that to make like a bluish gray color. I'm trying to get rid of this blue stripe that I made on here. I actually colored my smoke from my chimney with crayon, and I thought that the watercolor paint would be pushed away by the wax in the crayon, but it didn't really work. So I'm going to go back over that after my paint dries with oil pastel because I want that to be white. So I am just very carefully going to paint the sky. I'm going to paint around my house and try to paint around my tree and get that sky painted with that kind of smoky bluish gray color that the sky looks when it snows. I'm not going to paint the hill in the background behind my house because I want that to look like white snow. I have also had students leave a little bit of like a line of white snow on the ground. So you could do that. If you don't have a hill in the background and you wanted to leave a layer of snow on the ground, you could maybe outline that with black Sharpie or crayon and just leave that part white. You don't have to do that though. If you have a mountain in the background that's white, that'll be fine. So I want the dirt to have texture and to have variation. So I'm going to ball up my paper towel or my tissue, and I'm going to blot away certain areas. I'm not going to blot away everything because I want it to be darker in some places and lighter in some places and look like it has the texture of dirt. So I'm going to actually blot away certain areas while they're still wet as I'm painting. So I'm going to paint a little area, and then before that dries really quick, I'm going to ball up my paper towel and blot it up. My brown in my palette is a very reddish brown, so I actually put a tiny bit of black in with my brown, if you're wondering why I'm grabbing black paint. So that's how I'm going to paint my dirt. And then after I finish with that first layer, here I am going back in my darker areas with just a little bit of watery brown paint and making certain areas even darker. So I'm going back in on the darker areas and making them darker brown. So it looks like there's even more texture in my dirt. And that'll kind of bleed and blend in with the rest of your brown. Third grade, I think we used every element of art in this project. We definitely used line and shape. If you tried to make anything in your burrow look 3D, you used form. We used space because you designed your composition. We used color. If you used different shades of brown in your soil, you used value. And we used texture on our evergreens and in our deciduous trees. So we covered all the elements of art in this project. If you guys are able to send me a picture of your work, I would love to see it. This is one of my favorite projects and I do it every year with third grade, and y'all just draw the sweetest bunnies and the coolest, most creative things in your burrows, and I love to see what you do. If you're not able to do that, that's fine too. Boys and girls, I will see you next class.